Alright guys, Hayzink here, welcome back to the channel for another Street Fighter Duel video. So in this video we're going to be going over the special summon priority list as things have changed, okay? Now, I am going to keep this as simple as possible. I don't want to bog this down and make it like a 25-minute video because I don't really see the need for it, okay? There only really is a few units in the special summoning pool who I would class as being a top priority, okay? And I am going to now put them on this list in the order that I think they fit, okay? So the unit who you see in the number one spot is who I am saying that currently right now I think is the best unit in the game. Now obviously, as with every unit in the game, there is some caveats to that. Some units require certain things to function to their full potential. That tends to be the case for every single game in existence since the dawn of time. So some of you might not agree with the order, some of you might not agree with the picks, but what I'm going to say is the first set of units that I'm going to put on here, honestly, I don't think you need them. I don't think you will ever need them. They can be nice to have, they can give you some additional points, but do you need to have them? No. I'm talking units. I'm not saying, I mean, I've wrote on here don't bother. Don't bother might be a little bit of a stretch. I don't know if I would go quite as far as to say don't bother with them, but what I would say is you most certainly do not need these units. So I'm talking about units like Akuma. Genuinely, you don't need him at this stage in the game. I would not be using my special summon tickets to pick up a unit like Akuma. That is just me, that's just my opinion on the matter, okay? Again, baddest jury, honestly, the biggest letdown ever in this game for me. I do not think she's a unit that's actually that great. Guile's a unit that could be nice to have, but again, he's not a needle mover, okay? You can find some niche teams that he might be quite good for you on, but you're never going to really see him setting the world on fire. You never really see him popping up on scoreboards or anything like that, okay? Because while he's okay, he's nothing special. There's far better things you can do with your tickets, or simply hold on to your tickets until something better comes along, okay? Now, a character who is, I suppose, a little bit more niche and some people might have a bit of a disagreement over would be this character here. Now, for the sake of not pissing everyone off, I would say that I would maybe put this character above these characters and say that, okay, I can see situations where this character is useful. Again, I still think we're at a point in the game where if you have the core, really solid units from the special summon priority list, then you could totally skip this unit and it would not make a difference to you, okay? While again, a lot of people will probably disagree with me, I feel like we're venturing into that territory for this guy as well. He is still a decent unit, I just don't think he is the sort of a must type unit that he was maybe a while ago. I don't even think he ever was a must-have unit, but he was kind of higher up than quite a lot of other units in the special summoning priority pool. Again, I would probably argue you could say the same thing for Trendy Akuma. I do like Trendy Akuma, and Trendy Akuma can actually be very useful, but what we're saying here is if you had all of the units that are going to go within the top priority list, should you immediately start summoning for these units? I think a better option would be to save your tickets, okay? But if you were absolutely desperate, I would summon this line before I would summon the line below it, okay? So now we're going to talk about the units who actually, in my opinion, have merit. They still function very well, they're still very useful, you can still build really solid PvP comps about them and stuff like that. And coming in last place, for me, mainly because you don't see them being used that often in bosses, but there is still a very solid use for this unit in PvP. That is going to be Oni. I definitely do think Oni still has a place in the game. He is still a strong unit. He is still a unit that maybe I would summon for before saying save your tickets, although if you're a free-to-play player, saving your tickets is obviously very important. So you can kind of weigh that one up yourself, but what I will say is if you've summoned Oni, he's still a very powerful unit, he's still a very good unit, and you've not wasted your tickets, okay? You have not wasted your tickets. This one's going to be a bit of a hot take, a bit of a controversial take, but what I would then say, again, I'm putting these in order of what I would say is best to worst to use your tickets on. Just after Oni, I would actually put Gouken. Believe it or not, I just think there's too many ways around Gouken now. One of the other units on this list will just melt through Gouken, okay? I just feel like while Gouken is a good solid unit, I don't think I would actually put him as a priority over any of the other 4 units that we're about to talk about. And really, without beating about the bush too much, because honestly it's mainly 1 and 2 that's going to have the talking points here, I would say that I would probably go for Elena before Gouken, mainly because I feel like you can build a lot more utility with Elena just being on that tag slot. I mean, you don't even need her on the tag slot, you can put her in the team to get better use of her passive and stuff like that, but just simply coming in from that tag slot, she's a very effective unit. She's doing a lot for you, she's keeping you alive, she can be cleansing debuffs and stuff like that. She is a very, very solid unit, and I don't think she's slept on. I really don't think that she is slept on, but I would say that if I was prioritising now where I would go with Elena before I would go with Gouken. Again, everyone's entitled to their opinions and things can vary a lot depending on you, how you play, your account and stuff like that, but I quite comfortably think I would say that Elena would slot in probably 4th pick when it comes to who you should be summoning for with your special summon tickets, okay? Now, we're about to venture into sort of a controversial territory, okay? Now, what I will say is these next 3 units are all fantastic, okay? They are all fantastic. You could have an argument for them all to be interchangeable, but I do actually think there is a concrete hierarchy here of who is better, and I'm going to explain that the best way that I can, and unfortunately I feel like this is now where people are going to get pretty pissed off, okay? Because honestly, controversial as hell, right? But I'm actually going to say Vega is in 3rd place. I know right now people are screaming at the screen saying, what the hell are you talking about? Vega is in 3rd place. Vega is fantastic. Vega is fantastic, okay? Hands down, Vega is fantastic. Not disputing that, right? Vega will win you PvP battles. Hands down, I am not disputing that at all, okay? PvP, he will also do fairly well for you in bossing. So if you've summoned for Vega, you have made a good choice. You have made a very solid choice, okay? The reason I'm putting Vega in 3rd place and not 2nd place, which right up until I did that there, I was unsure of where I was going to go. But the reason I'm doing it is because Honda can do more if he's built. Again, I know this is crazy to some of you guys, right? But allow me to explain, right? Honda will survive Vega. If you've built Honda well, if you have a well-built Honda, he will survive Vega. And on his super alone, he does enough damage that he could just kill Vega. Hands down, he could kill Vega, okay? He not only does that, he has this huge damage capability himself, okay? Everyone he hits with that damage, he then enables every person attacking after him, if he does the super attack, to then do more damage. It doesn't matter what team you've got. If you're running a kind of basic team where your main damage dealer is coming from the C3, if you start off with Ronda as your super, you will see gains on your damage, because not only are you getting the enemy having reduced damage reduction, so they can take more damage, he's doing huge numbers on that super itself. He is also gaining SP, so super attack meter, he's gaining you meter, which then is allowing you to attack more as well. Now, I can see already why people would say, oh, hang on a minute, if you've built your team well, If you have built the counters that you need to counter a V Vega, assuming you are not completely outmatched on power, okay? But if you have built the counters that you need, and people by now should know those counters, you can quite easily counter a V Vega team, okay? If there is a massive power gap, if the person that's attacking you has way more fighting heart, way more levels, that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about fighting against people who are around Duel level. If you have built those counters like your Athlete Chun-Li, like your normal base Honda, if you are countering Vega doing his ranged attack, Vega's nothing, because his attacks aren't getting through, right? And if you've built your team, you will destroy them. And one of the keys to doing that, depending on where you're at, can be Honda, okay? Running Honda on a team with a solid unit who you know can tank. At the back, you've got Chun-Li coming in, blocking her ranged attacks. You can literally win that fight just with Honda being the main damage dealer, doing the super, doing the C1, doing the C2. If your C3 unit's dead, a lot of times you can just win that fight with Honda, just going back again, doing the super. You know, Honda is, I don't think he's slept on in any way, shape or form, but I think he maybe is overlooked in favour of the big flashy damage, right? Honda is phenomenal. But now, because of the change they made, okay, and bearing in mind, all units want a team to fit around them, okay? But because of the changes they made, I would say that now Bison is the best unit in the game, okay? If you have built your team, if you have a focus on survivability, so if you've got tanky units, Honda being a key example, okay? You've got Honda on the team. You are then smart and you start summoning for units that have, don't die, have damage and vulnerability for X number of seconds, don't fall below 1 HP, that type of thing. If you've built that team, you've basically set up a scenario where Bison is going to pop. He's going to revive. He's going to do his passive. He's going to do huge damage. Then the next time he does it again, he's going to do even more damage. So if you were doing a combo where you had someone like Honda doing the super, bearing in mind you've hit everyone, you've got everyone being inflicted with more damage because he's given them reduction to the amount of damage that they can take. You, from what I've been testing anyway, and literally probably the hardest mode to win in, which is Battle Royale, you will consistently win more fights. With V Vega, you are at the mercy of who goes first. Did you get unlucky? Did you get interrupted? If they had a Beast Sang and their Beast Sang just happened to hit at the right point, it interrupted you, you didn't get to go, their Vega comes in and it scalps you. You don't need to worry about that with the Bison team. If you've built the Bison team and you've got yourself your units who can survive, you can take that damage. Even if you get interrupted, it doesn't matter, because Bison's going to pop his passive, he's going to do huge damage. In the interim, if you've built your team properly with 2 units who can tank or do down to 1 HP and not die, you've got your healer coming in from the C3 slot, or the super slot, sorry, bringing them back up after they've reached that 1 HP. Before you know it, Bison's popped his passive 3 times and they're dead, right? The damage numbers this guy can put out when he's built is phenomenal. On a good roll, you will win with Vega. Hands down, straight up. And you'll probably win faster with Vega, okay? It's you're matching those teams where you're going first. You don't need to worry about getting stunned. You don't need to worry about any of that stuff. Vega's going to win it for you. But if you go into those exact same fights with Bison, Bison will win it for you. But he will also probably win the fights for you that Vega wouldn't have won, because they have just made this guy so stupidly broken that I don't think it's good design, personally. I don't think it's good design, but it's what they've decided to do. They've decided to make this guy insanely broken. People will come back and they will say to me, Hayzink, you know what? You say that this guy's super good, there's not really many counters to him, people could just run, if they wanted to, they could just run Beast Zangief, oh sorry, regular Zangief, okay? Just really to kind of take that discussion off the table, right? Like, let's just take that discussion off the table. So, my phone will unlock. Let's just go into here. Zangief, you're absolutely right. He will counter this guy. But the ideal way you would want to run this guy, like I've said, is with tanky units on the team, okay? Straight up. You want to put him on there with units who can take a beating, who can survive, who actually can take hits and keep going, right? As soon as you take this guy, I'll go to a better place actually, because this is a really bad spot to look at it. Go to here. Go to here, go to here. Right. So, as soon as you take this guy here, okay, and as soon as you put a tanky unit in front of him, so as soon as you go here and you go, okay, I would have him on the team, he's in slot 2, right? He is straight up in slot 2. Now, if you wanted to go further than that and you actually went the whole hog and actually built units who are really going to work well, and we're going to talk about this in another video, you start to get teams like this, okay? You start to get teams where he's never in slot 1, okay? He is really not in a position where it's easy for Zangief to get to him. You're not going to put him there, right? So if you're doing a mode like Showdown, right, where players don't have manual control, they're going to have to get super lucky for Zangief to hit his C2 and disable Bison's passive. Because you're going to have these tanky units. That's what his team is designed around. If you've built that team properly, he's never going to be in slot 1. Even if you're one of these crazy people who you don't get the best benefit from this, I don't recommend doing this. But if you put Bison on here, you can see, I don't think this is a great team, right? I don't. Personally, I do not think this is a great team. But if you wanted to run that kind of tanky setup, you can keep both of them off the front line, which means, again, Zangief is not going to be able to come in and disable either of the two of them's passive, so they can pop huge numbers between both of them. Again, I don't think it's a good idea to run Bison on a team like this, okay? The only way I would do that, and I would need to test this out to see if it would work, I mean, it should work in theory, is if you did that, because then the likes of Vega could not one-shot Bison, okay? Because the whole idea is, if you're building a team around about this guy, you don't want him to be on a team where the other members of that team could be one-shotted, okay? So I actually think that, again, we'll talk about this in another video, right there you're looking at units who literally would work extremely well on a team with Bison, right? Extremely well on a team with Bison, you know? And if you wanted to, just for shits and giggles, something like that as a combo would be phenomenal, okay? The reason I say that is because when you've got that guy, Wrestler Hugo, when you've got him built up, after he's popped his super attack, around about 2, depends how many times you get hit, but 2 to 3 times, he is going to have that mechanic of, if you drop below 1 HP, so you can't drop below 1 HP for 8 seconds, which is what you're looking for in the teams for for Bison, right? So, to go back to the point I was making that's probably pissed a lot of people off and made a lot of people angry, building teams to their key strengths to make them function the best that they can. Bison has got a higher, better ceiling in my opinion than Vega, straight up. For PvP, for bossing, we can maybe have a different discussion for bossing, right? But really, when it comes down to it, we're probably talking more about PvP than anything else. Or at least I am. I would say that this is the order that I'm happy with. Again, the first 3 units on this are phenomenal. 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 You could really argue that they could go in any order of the 3 that you wanted. Although I would say that now being completely honest, I just think with how they've built him, how insane they've gone, how over the top they've gone with catering to everyone having this immortal unit that I don't think we need. I do think he stands out above the rest of them. So, in my opinion, when you are finished with the unit that you are summoning right now, I think you should go for Bison. But if you're doing that, there is some units that you need to think about on divination. And we're going to talk about that in the next video. But anyway, this is it. I'm Hayzink. Catch you in the next one. Peace.